So back in 1974, I went over to France. I went to Bordeaux. It was a junior year abroad from UC Santa Barbara. And in Bordeaux, you have to be a duke, a count, or a baron and own 500 acres and a castle to make wine. In 77, after graduating from school in pre-law, I went to Burgundy. And in Burgundy, it was very clear to me that you could have very few rows of vineyards. You could have a tractor and enough room to make 36 barrels of wine in your cellar and be just as important as the next guy who was down the street. So I was motivated to try to make my way in the world of wine. I started working in the late 70s at Zaca Mesa. I went down to Australia. California taught me the possibility of making wine in the New World. Australia taught me the technical aspects of winemaking that were a little bit interesting to me at the time, not so much now. And then after that, I went back to France and worked in Burgundy in 1981 and found out all that I needed to do. Very, very rudimentary winemaking involving barrels, lees components, not a lot of settling or over-processing, and if you took good grapes in balance, you could make a very delicious wine. And we've taken that premise and expanded on it over the last 28 years and discovered, of course, the majority of the effort that you have to make Burgundian style wines where you're not working hard in the cellar occurs in the vineyard. Careful farming, leaf exposure, fruit exposure by leaf removal, getting a chance to get direct sunlight to your clusters, and relatively high density competitive farming to allow the roots to go deep in well-drained soils, and then harvesting in balance. My whole goal is not to chaptalize, not to acidulate, and certainly not to water back our vineyards, our grapes after they're harvested from the vineyard. And so the intention is to make balanced wines of elegance and aromatic intensity, wonderful texture, positive flavors, instead of trying to make wines that are powerful and blind tasting winners. And I think we've done that, which makes us a traditional European-oriented winemaking organization that makes wines to drink, not to taste, and to drink copiously. We believe in starting early and continuing on when it comes to drinking. The age-worthiness of the wines, once you get the pH under control, is a given. If you have wine that is very, very forward, made in an oxidative style with 16% alcohol, it's not going to have a long life. But when you make wines like we make wines that have bright fruit, good complexity and earthiness, they finish their malolactic fermentation, and they've been bottled in a gentle fashion, they tend to age, I think, quite well. We argue that 6 or 7 years after the date on the vintage, the wines have opened up and begun to express their personality, and then they seem to hold like that for 10 to 15 more years minimum. We had an 85 from me last week that was in great condition from a difficult vintage. It was a high crop vintage. I was very happy with that. And an 89 Magnum that I'm running out of the wine, unfortunately, from Sanford and Benedict Vineyard, but looked like it had 20 more years that it could age, which is maybe the most long-lived wine we've made.